And then you have on the other end, you're dealing with behind the scenes stuff that they don't even know you're dealing with.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is The Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome back to The Closing Table. I am your host, Kevin C. McIntosh, and joining us on this episode, ready to tell us what's going on in her market, we want to welcome Dominique Spaur. How are you, Dominique?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing just good. I'm doing good. Thank you so much for being here and accepting our invitation to be a guest on The Closing Table.
Excited to be here.
Absolutely. So we are here to talk about what's going on in real estate, so let's get down to the nitty-gritty, starting off with who you are as a person, Dominique. I'd like to take this time, 60 seconds or less, if you can tell us who you are outside of real estate.
I am a wife and a mom, a homeschooling mom. We just recently transitioned to homeschool, so it takes up a lot of my time. When we're not homeschooling, we do like to travel. We recently purchased about 150 acres in Tennessee, and I just recently got licensed in Tennessee as well. So
Congratulations.
Thank you. A lot of change going on in my life right now. So just a busy mom.
Yeah. Different stages and chapters in life, evolutions, and, adding things on. I love that. Love to hear it. Okay, so let's talk about your business. I want you to kind of describe your business to us, or your business model or whatever. Get into a little bit of details if you can, how long you've been licensed, what you would consider your niche or specialty, and just notable achievements, things of that nature.
Okay, so I got licensed in 2018. Prior to being in real estate, I have a master's degree in education, so I was a teacher. I taught mostly early childhood education, kindergarten, but kind of bounced around a little bit, kindergarten, first, third grade. I had my second son, and I realized it was so hard teaching kindergartners and then going home to my own two boys. So my dad was licensed at the time, and I was like, I need to find something different. So really, with a big push from my husband, I got licensed in real estate and love it. Never would have imagined that, my whole life I was going to be a teacher, and that was going to be me. But I really have thrived in it, and it's really become, a big part of who I am. I took my community. I was born and raised in North Brevard, so kind of took my community and ran with it. My parents had owned a restaurant, so I had a lot of connections in the community that way, and just being rooted there, kind of involved in all the things that I was involved in and with my children and all of that. My first year, like I said, my dad was licensed, so I kind of started working with him, and it kind of gave me, I came in with running, and haven't stopped since. I started doing a lot of working with small businesses in the community, and really just taking that, and then it turned into hosting events and all kinds of things. So really, I kind of work with all kinds of people. I've worked with business owners. I've worked with first-time home buyers. I've worked with people trying to move to the area, move out of the area. Right. SpaceX and Blue Origin came, and the area really skyrocketed. No pun intended there, but we're continuing to grow a lot in the area. So we've got a lot of relocation going on. So as far as, what type of people I work with, really whoever's looking to move, I've really gotten into that environment of referrals also. So people coming in and things like that. So anybody that's looking to move, buyers, sellers, just, being involved in the community, just kind of around everyone. So
Nice. Yeah, I love to hear stuff like that. You, pretty much putting in that work. And it seems like you are at that point. What is it? It said 2018, so it's been 5 years that you've been licensed now. That's great, because what you just described, you said you're at the point to where you're starting to get those referrals come around from old clients and things like that. We've talked about this on The Closing Table a bunch of times, but when you hit that mark of getting into like your fourth, fifth year or and beyond, that's when some of the work that you've done earlier, the the leads that you got earlier and satisfied, they start to bring around referrals, and then your business model pretty much changes to a lot of referrals and things of that nature. So I love to hear that right there, Dominique.
Yes.
Let's talk about what's going on in your market. Specifically, let's start with your market in general. So, two-part question. One, describe your market geographically. Get into as much details as possible. Describe it for someone who may have never been to your market before, notable attractions, things to do, things like that. And then the second part, get into some of the data, the statistics with real estate and the economics there.
Okay, so the main market I serve is North Brevard County. So Brevard's a really long county if you're not familiar with Florida. And so Palm Bay, Melbourne, that's about an hour from me. So typically, we have a lot of people in our office. Those are markets where I don't feel as comfortable because I may have only been there a couple of times. There's a mall in Melbourne and high school there. So my market is typically North Brevard, which is Mims, Titusville, and Cocoa. And so we are about an hour east of Orlando, Disney, Universal Studios, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
We are about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour south of Daytona Beach, and about 45 minutes, depending on where you're going in North Brevard, north of Cocoa Beach. So we are just surrounded by fun things to do.
Nice.
Titusville, Mims in general, where I grew up, small town, until I'd say the last 5 years, we've really started growing. Like I said previously, Blue Origin and SpaceX came in. NASA's building the new SLS rocket. They already launched, but all of that's going on. So we've got a lot of people moving in, a lot of jobs being created in our area. And you're starting to see a lot of development in the Titusville area. They've torn down an old mall and built a new area with bigger name stores and things that we've never had before. So we're right on the Indian River. So fishing is a big, your Florida life. We're on the water.
Yeah, I know, right?
Coastal life, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're within proximity to a lot of things going on. I mean, we not even to mention the weather, obviously, beaches, Disney World, SpaceX, Blue Origin, all the different companies bringing jobs and opportunities and bringing the value of the property up. Obviously,
Exactly.
it's a lot going on in Florida, and it seems like where your market is right in the center, in the central of it all too. So
Yes,
interesting.
absolutely. Yeah. So,
Okay.
yep.
Okay. Well, let's talk about how you got to where you are now in the sense of your previous occupations. Can you talk about any occupations that you've had and in regards to any skills that you've taken from those that you applied to your real estate career and how you use that to give you an advantage?
Yeah. So, like I had mentioned before, from the time I was a junior in high school, for 10 years after that, my parents owned now this is going to be a geographical thing too, a Beef O'Brady's. It's more like a Buffalo Wild Wings if you don't know what that is, but
Okay.
it's a chain restaurant, TVs everywhere, like a sports bar type.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was never very social. And then my parents opened a restaurant, and of course, surveying, all of that. You learn the people skills.
Yep.
You get to know everybody. That definitely has helped me because, you know, talking to people, you got to be a people person to be successful in real estate. I feel like
Correct.
you've got to connect to the people. I think that's another thing that's helped me a lot, like building relationships with these people. And then, as I also mentioned, after I was done serving, I became a teacher, and that's another. Yeah, I mean, 100% the things that I've learned from going to school to be a teacher and being a teacher has carried over into real estate, like as far as just educating the client,
Mm-hmm.
knowing how
Mm-hmm.
to talk to them, when you have a class of 25 kindergartners, they each learn different, and not comparing adults to kindergartners, but it carries over into your clients.
Yeah.
You've got to take care of this one like this, and then this one kind of, they only wanted to be texted, not called. And this one's like, you've got to call every day, even if you don't have an update. And you kind of, learn how to take care of and adapt to each client's personality.
Yeah, that's well said, first and foremost. But yeah, being a teacher, educator, falls right in line with being a real estate agent, if you ask me. It's all about educating. People don't know a lot of things that's going on with the real estate transaction. They have to be educated in order to gain that trust of the professional in which they're working with. Also, a lot of us are kids, so don't feel bad about it. I am definitely one of those kids.
I know.
So
Same.
yeah.
I'm not trying to,
Sometimes you gotta break stuff down
right.
for like elementary style for an adult. So I get that. That translates.
Yeah, it does.
That's funny. Okay, so you already mentioned you're from. Excuse me if I'm saying this wrong. Brevard County, correct? You're from that area. You're familiar with it. You know a lot about the community, things that's going on. Let's talk about when you use those superpowers of your familiarity with that community to help a client. Can you talk about the memories that you've made and the things that you had to go through to actually use your knowledge of knowing that community to help a client find a home?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind, I had a client. This actually gets a little like personal because I ended up selling them the house that I was living in. But I had a
Mm.
client that they wanted to sell their house, they wanted to buy a bigger house, they wanted to move into like a neighborhood where they could raise their kids and live for a while, like grow their family. And so we were running around North Brevard County and I'm showing them house after house after house. And I'm like, I have told you guys, my house is going up for sale. It's you like the kind of neighborhood you want to be in. It's the area you want to be in. You're 3 minutes from I-95. Like I'm telling them all the things and they're like, we just don't really want to be in that neighborhood. And I was like, I'm not sure why, because it was one of like the desired, like for school, just it checked off all their boxes.
Mm.
Um, and they were like, no, no, I don't want to be there. So the holidays started coming around, and this specific neighborhood goes all out for Christmas and Halloween. Like, even if you don't live there, that's where you go trick or treating. Even if you don't live there, that's where you go look at Christmas lights. And
Nice.
I told them, I was like, just go drive through the neighborhood. And they finally did. And for somebody who's wanting to raise kids in like a fun and, that kind of environment, they called me and they're like, why didn't we want to move to that neighborhood? Why haven't we looked at houses in there? Like, I've
Hmm.
been trying to tell you, but it's, somebody will say something or they get areas confused. Even if you're from the area, if you've lived in Cocoa, you've not lived in North Titusville, or you've lived in North Titusville, you've not lived, in Port St. John, you kind of don't know the vibe of the area. So, um,
Correct.
that story always comes to my mind because I mean, we looked for houses for weeks and finally I'm like, I've got the house for you. Like,
Hmm.
and they end up buying it and they're still there
Right.
4 or 5.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yep. They love it.
Nice.
Yep.
That's and when I'm connecting some dots here, right? I've heard that one of the best times to kind of check out an area and kind of see how it is at nighttime in a way.
Mhm.
That way you kind of see, the activity at night, see how safe it is or whatever the case may be. And during the holiday seasons, if people are putting up, Christmas decorations or, holiday decorations, they usually cut the lights on at night also. So you're checking out the lights, you're checking out the neighborhoods, you're getting the best of both worlds. And then it really highlights the community aspect of that area that you're in. So that I can see them saying, wow, my kids love it here. Everyone here has a sense of community that they're all decorating and things of that nature. They're participating in this type of festivity. So yeah, I can see that kind of drawing people in a little bit. But it's crazy that it took that in order for to really kind of, go with what you were suggesting in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's part of it. That's why you're the professional. You know the neighborhood and everything.
Mm-hmm.
What about dealing with clients, agents? On the other side of the closing table, not all transactions are smooth. Some different factors pop up that you can't control. But have you had a situation where you had a disagreement with the opposing client's agent? Can you talk about how you kind of maneuvered through that to, come to a settlement?
Yeah. A few come to mind.
Uh-oh.
As adults, it's hard to work with other adults sometimes. And I'm a person that I'm very non-controversial.
Mm-hmm,
I don't want the controversy. Like if you and
mm-hmm.
I aren't agreeing, like I'm representing my client and you're representing yours but I don't like to be like that in real estate. Like I really think there's this I don't know. People think realtors are competition. We really need to be a team to get to the the closing table. There are
Mm-hmm.
so many times where, yeah, maybe I am telling you something that you need to tell your client or bringing something up that's not on the listing side if I'm the listing agent, but I'm doing it not to step on your toes. I'm doing it to like get the problem
Mm-hmm.
solved.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that was a little side rant. To get back to your question, there was one specifically that comes to mind. We were outside of inspection period. So inspections were done, already agreed on things, we're moving along. The buyers and sellers did a big no-no and traded phone numbers. I was the listing agent. I was not there
Oh.
when that happened. Moving on. They exchanged phone numbers and they became friends. And they got together one night at the house. I don't know what happened that night, but the next day, the buyer's agent called me and told me what happened and told me that there were some things that the buyers and sellers agreed would be done before closing. And I was like, you need to write an addendum. I'll present it to my sellers, but no, I don't do business this way.
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately called the sellers. I'm like, this is what happened. And they're like, yeah, they were here last night, this and that, but I'm not signing an addendum.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So called the buyer's agent, told him they're not signing. We moved on. My closing was on my birthday, and we had already had a trip planned to North Carolina.
Oh.
So I'm doing everything I can. We're in this Airbnb that I have to be in to have cell phone service. So we couldn't leave. Like my kids are like, Mom, I'm like, no, not till this deal closes. Like I'm waiting for the final walkthrough and all of that. And I get a call. I'll spare like all the extra details, but basically buyers are not closing without a credit or without these items being done because they agreed on them. And I told the buyer's agent, I'm like, did you tell them that this addendum was never signed? Like, had I been there, I would have had the conversation with his clients at that point. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
never got this back signed, but I was not there. And he basically was like, unless you know, get this credit for them, they're not closing. So I'm in North Carolina.
Oh wow.
Um, they're at the title office. Title office is calling me, buyer's agent's calling me, and we we got it worked out. We got it closed, but I was put on the spot for something that wasn't even, something to do with my clients. It was a lack of communication on his end, unfortunately.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
closing happened, but it wasn't pretty. It was.
Yeah. I'm glad you were able to navigate through that situation to actually get it, taken care of. But that's very, very unfortunate. Miscommunication destroys the nation. And that's a prime example of that. I want you to elaborate on something very briefly. I will understand this, but can you talk about why it's not a good thing for the buyer and seller to exchange communication and communicate during
Yeah.
the transaction?
Yeah. So on closing day or at the walkthrough, I think it is so helpful for the seller to be there, like especially on bigger houses or more houses that have more intricate, things like special pool systems or whatever.
Yep.
It's great. Like, you guys can be friends for life after that. But what happens during the transaction is if the seller and the buyer start talking, you get comfortable with each other, and then things may be said on a phone call, or you might invite them back over and they see something they didn't see before, or anything really can happen. But what happens is then the agents get cut out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it's like, "Oh, hey, Kevin, thanks for letting us come walk back through. Um, you know, we noticed that the sink in the bathroom is leaking underneath. Can you have that fixed before closing?" And you're like, "Oh, yeah, sure." Well, I don't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Listing agent doesn't know about it. Buyer's agent doesn't know about it. Buyer's agent goes to do the final walkthrough and, the sink is still leaking, and then they're like, "I'm not closing." We have nothing in writing. We have no idea that you guys agreed to this. Or,
Yep.
I mean, that's just a small example. If it's something like, "Oh yeah, we'll change the price," or, "Oh yeah, we'll give you a credit for that." Like, that has to go through a lender, that has to go through the title company. We have to have documentation of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, it can really be detrimental to a deal and then possibly like kill a deal or extend closing and things that there's so much that goes on behind the scenes with realtors. Like, I know it looks like we like put a sign in the yard and post on social media that we have your house for sale, but there's really so much more to it that you know, it's
Yeah.
just if you just let the agents do their job and then you guys can be best friends for life after the deal.
I know, right? Wait till afterwards to be friends. That sounds so crazy. But
Yeah.
I get it, though. I get it. And I'm glad you elaborated on it because that's exactly what I was getting to, but I wanted you to put into words. Clearly, when you're talking to each other, yeah, it's good. I get it. You're trying to build the relationship, but it could blur a lot of lines, including a lot of things that need to be documented and in writing, especially if you're making deals with each other based off of whatever relationship that you're building. That's very, very, very important. So I knew that you were going there, and I'm glad you explained that. I want to talk about community service. Hosting events, participating in events that are, community events and things like that. Great ways to connect with people, build rapport, things of that nature, especially in your industry. But can you talk about an example where you organized or participated in some type of community event, and not only did it strengthen your connection to the community, but it also had a positive impact on your real estate business?
Yeah, so I host this year. We took it back a notch because I'm in the middle of growing a team in Florida due to the expansion into Tennessee. But typically I host 4 events a year. So I do a Easter egg hunt, a backpack drive, a trunk or treat, and a donuts with Santa. Um,
Mm,
and I it kind of like grew into that. I started by like attending other people's events. I was a vendor, and then I started doing business spotlights, like going around to businesses and doing giveaways for businesses. And then it just kind of grew into like, I want to do something of my own. So I started doing these events, and just for anybody listening, if you're no matter what you're doing, my first event was at Donuts with Santa. It was supposed to be at 9 o'clock in the morning. It got rained out, and we moved the time until 10 o'clock, and I had one family come. um,
oh.
one family, and I was like, it was weather, it was this, it was that. The next event I did, COVID hit. So
Oh.
then we had to do a drive-through Easter egg hunt. Up until the last event I did had, I think, over 3,000 people show up. So don't give up. Like, don't give up. Um, you know, that I wanted to throw that in there when we started
Mm-hmm.
talking about these
Mm-hmm.
events, because you never know you know, where something can grow to. But doing these events, I think, put my name in more households than I could have reached just doing my everyday real estate.
Right.
um, I've had a lot of people, talk to me at those events, and then people that I didn't necessarily even know, like when you see a post on Facebook and they're like, who's a realtor? People tagging me that I only know from the events and things like that. So it definitely has increased my business substantially. I do things at all of my events, like I'll give out like cups, something with my name on it, pens, something. I Just doing the event is marketing enough, but I always try to take it to the next level. Like, you don't
Yep.
want them to leave and be like, oh, that was a great trunk or treat. You want them to know, like,
Mm-hmm.
you're not doing it for the recognition, but you put all the work into it. You want to make sure that if they're going to use a realtor, they use, if they're listing their house tomorrow, that you at least get the phone call. So,
Yeah.
um, it- I don't think that I have a specific time when somebody called me and they're like, "Hey, I was at your trunk or treat last night," but I
Mm-hmm.
definitely know that it has spread my name like tremendously. On the same topic but different. Um, From professionals, I've gotten mixed feedback on my truck being wrapped. I don't know how much you looked at my social media, but I had like a
Yeah.
my truck is a thing, and when I switched brokerages and it wasn't wrapped, I got asked at least one time a day, like, when's your truck getting wrapped?" I'm like, "I guess I'm wrapping my truck again." But it's become like, people at the airport will see my truck and they'll post it and tag me on social media. So, I think
Mm.
that it's just being really in the community. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
wrap your truck, host events, like, sit at the coffee shop and talk to people, like, be involved in your community is, I think, a secret to real estate success.
I like that. I like you know what, you spoken a lot of good things I like about that. First and foremost, hosting and participating in the events. I get it. I like it. Those specific events that you're doing, I think they're very, very important. The Easter egg hunt, the trunk or treat, the donuts with Santa, and the backpack giveaway thing. I love those first and foremost. Those directly impact the families because they involve kids for the most part. So you're getting families out, you're getting them involved. They're enjoying themselves more than likely for a free time, I would anticipate. But then, like you said, yeah, they come to the event, they enjoy themselves. And they're like, well, this is a nice event. But then you also give them a cup, a book bag, a pen or something where they actually have your name, your brand name on it. So then, like you said, whenever they get, oh, we did go to this nice trunk or treat. I forgot, what was the name of it? Oh, it was Dominique. And they can see it right there on a pen or something like that. Refer to other people. And wrapping your car is a good one. I like that because anywhere you go, you're marketing essentially, right? Your car stands out from any and other car, even if it's the same make and model. Your car's gonna stand out to them other ones. And then, like you said, being in that specific community, people are like, oh, I see Dominique. Let me take a picture, tag her, let her know I just saw her at the grocery store or whatever the case may be. So those are great. Like, I don't want to say inactive, but maybe non-direct marketing tactics, if I'm even saying that right. But I love that. I love everything you said about that.
Like, it's like in the school pickup line, people knew me from my truck more so,
Yep.
didn't even know me. So like we go somewhere and they'd be like, hey, Dominique. I'm like, hey, but I don't know how. And then, just on the back end of that too, my events were free. And,
Yep.
all of the vendors that came were small local businesses. So
Mm.
while I'm working on getting them out in the community as well, because I did heavily market everybody that came to my events, I'm also making the connections with the small businesses in my community. So,
Well, win, win, win right there. Win, win, win right there. Can't lose. I love that. Let's talk about looking back throughout your career. In your opinion, what do you feel like is the most challenging aspect of real estate? Do you have any specific incidents that happened throughout your career that kind of emphasizes that?
at the beginning, I think that my biggest challenge, and this may have been more of a mental thing than it actually was. There's 5,000 realtors in Brevard County. Like, what, people I've gone to high school with, people that are in my same sphere. Like, how am I going to make it when everybody knows at least one realtor?
Mm.
How do you get them to choose you? So I think at the beginning that was my biggest thing, and I'm reliving it now with my license in Tennessee. I'm in a new community. I started out in a community where I knew everybody. So I'm reliving it. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
remind myself of those things again now. So I think for anybody starting out, if I can aim this question towards them, just don't give up. Like, find a space in your market that's not being used, and tackle it.
Nice, nice. See, the thing about that is, I essentially feel like all real, I don't want to say all, but not even just in real estate. A lot of industries, you hear a lot of professionals, say that they're different, but a lot of their sales pitches are the exact same. As someone who's talked to over 150 agents at this point, I can tell you a lot of them kind of regurgitate the same thing. I'm a hard worker. I actually listen. I do this and that. But you kind of got to go a little bit above and beyond, because I'm going to be honest, as a client, I would kind of anticipate, if you're a professional, yeah, you would listen. Yeah, you would go above and beyond. That should be basic. You see what I'm saying? It's like saying I'm a basketball player. I'm good because I dribble the ball. I would hope that you dribble the ball. Right. You see? But you doing the different things, your marketing tactics, your community involvement, things of that nature. Those are the things that get you to stand out. I mean, the vehicle wrap thing keeps standing out to me, but those are the things, the little efforts that really make you stand out in those different communities, even with it being 5,000 in one county, which is crazy to me.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yes.
So I can understand that. I can understand that with it being so many realtors. You also got a few notable achievements throughout your career, top sales recognition and things of that nature. Obviously requires a lot of dedication, expertise, resilience, things of that nature. Can you share a story where you had to deal with a challenging transaction, but you use your skills and expertise to kind of navigate through that situation?
Yes. I there, every I don't think that I've had one real estate transaction that's been smooth from start to finish. Like, it's always like
Mm.
something comes up. And that's where, having an experienced agent on both ends is super beneficial. And working as a team is super beneficial. Uh, I'd have to say, I'm gonna go back to the same story. You can tell I'm like traumatized from this deal, but it was that agent on the other end where they became friends.
Oh
They
yeah.
they started out, they loved these people, and by the end, the where I said I was gonna spare you all the details, I mean, the cops were being called at the final walkthrough of that deal. So, it really took, a lot of patience, a lot of, knowing how to talk to these clients, um, to get that one to the closing table because,
Mm-hmm.
man, I don't even have it was a lot of,
I get it.
like I said, I'm a very non-controversial person, and I feel like when you go to a doctor, you're gonna trust your doctor. When your kids are in a classroom, you trust their teacher. Like, you're hiring me and you're trusting me, but then something comes up and you need to do this and you need to do that, and you're yelling at me, and really, I don't get paid. I don't get paid if this deal falls through. Like, I want this to close just as much as you do. This is how I support my family.
Mm-hmm.
And, having the reputation of, that I do build relationships with my clients and, take care of them before, during, and after the transaction. When you get that client that's just very, aggressive,
Ugh.
and then
Yeah.
you have on the other end, you're dealing with behind the scenes stuff that they don't even know you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of deep breaths and breathing, but I just think that, from waiting tables and being in the classroom and all of that, I've had the skill set and fortunately the positive attitude that, kept everybody calm and made it to the closing table. So,
I get it. I get it. Okay. Well,
yeah.
yeah, I wanna with you being in the same area, Florida, I guess, being from that area and now serving that area, you've seen things change, real estate wise, and just overall in the community. But let's focus on real estate wise. Have you noticed any notable shifts or trends in your real estate market throughout your career? And do you have any examples that shows how it impacted your approach as an agent?
Um, During COVID, obviously, is the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yep.
We went from a pretty, buyer's market, where, you can look at a house, you can have a little bit of time to think about it. You could say, I want to be in this price range in this neighborhood and go look at 2 or 3 houses to you didn't even have time to get to the house, and it
Yep.
was under contract.
Yep.
Um, and
Yep.
so I guess during that time, it took a lot of talking to people and not making them feel that pressure, because the last thing I tell my clients this, even now that the market's way more chill than it was then, I don't ever want you to buy a house and you regret it and be like, well,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to make Dominique keep showing me house. No, like, no. This is a huge investment. This is where you have to live. Like, that feeling of going home. I don't want you to
Ooh.
go home somewhere where you're
Ooh.
I hate this place, and
I
now
know what you mean. Yeah.
and, like, especially right now, people that bought with those 3% interest rates, it's a thing. Like, nobody wants to
Mm-hmm.
sell right now because they don't
Mm-hmm.
want the 7.5% interest rates,
Mm-hmm.
and, that's a whole 'nother struggle in itself. That's another shift that we've seen, but, I never wanna be that person, and so during that market where it was like, "Okay, well, there's 7 offers, and I know you're only approved for 300,000, but, the house is listed at 315, and it's probably gonna go for 375 if you want me to be
Mm-hmm.
honest."
Mm-hmm.
You don't want them to feel like you're trying to make them spend more money. You don't want them to feel like you're trying to make more money off of them or rushing them into a house, but it was a time where we didn't have a choice. Like, if you want that house, you need to put in an offer and it needs to be strong, or
Yeah.
else, it's going to be under contract tonight, I promise. So
Mm-hmm.
that was, that was a time where the market changed and I definitely had to change I did have to get a little more stern with my clients and use that education to keep them calm, but like we are in a rush. Like if you need a home before August, like we're in a rush and you have
Yeah.
to act quick. You don't have time to think. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Hurry up and buy type situation.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something that you just said that hit home for me. The fact of being comfortable with where you live. As someone who has had roommates,
Oh
let me
goodness.
tell you, I have been in situations where I did not want to go home.
Right.
I did not, like, I sat in a drive where I was like, can I work an extra 2 hours, please? Like,
Yeah.
like that's how bad I did not. And I always say, if there's any place in the entire world you should be comfortable, it is your own home. It is
Absolutely.
your own home.
Yeah.
So I 100%, when you said that, it hit home right there because I felt that. Now, as a parent, sometimes I sit in my driveway a few minutes before I go home. That's a whole nother story. I love my kid. I love my girlfriend, but still,
They peek out
different
the window.
situation.
I'm on the phone. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Hey, so Dominique, I want you to look back on your career and think about something that inspired you. And I want you to answer this question: what movie, book, quote, philosophy, any type of content that you've consumed, can you share with us that helped change or shape your perspective personally or professionally?
So my answer is going to be Jeremiah 29:11 out of the Bible, because real estate is a cycle, right? So I start doing good, and then all of a sudden I'm like, my phone hasn't rang in a week. What's happening? And then you start getting inside your own head, like,
Mm-hmm.
why aren't people
Mm-hmm.
calling me anymore?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? And it's a cycle. It's always going to get better. And you got to keep working for it. And Jeremiah 29:11 says, the Lord knows the plans he has for you, and plans to prosper you, not harm you, to give you a hope for the future. And it's going to be okay. Like, if you're working hard, it's going to pay off, and God's got you. Like, that's it.
Talk, Dominique. Talk that talk, Dominique. That's what I'm talking about right there. That hit home too, because I was actually been going through some stuff myself, but I've been trying to remain calm and just put that work. I was literally just saying that today. Just remain calm and just put that work in. It will all work out. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for sharing it. And thank you for accepting our invitation to be a guest on the closing table. We appreciate that. Now, if you have any last words and or want to tell people how to reach out to you, the floor is yours.
Okay, I've said it over and over throughout this, but don't give up. Keep going, put the work in. It'll pay off. And I am serving the North Brevard area and Middle Tennessee. So if you need to get a hold of me, it's 321-271-5578.
Give her a call. Thank you so much again, Dominique. We appreciate you. And for our YouTube audience watching right now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, hit the like button, please, and thank you. Make sure you also share the content and subscribe to our channel. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, give us a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content, Dominique. I like to leave our audience with a question before they leave to get their brains turning. So this is for you, audience. What is your most valuable achievement in your real estate career as an agent? Don't tell us now. Leave it in the comments below. Besides that, we'll talk to you next time.